my personality is as such that over the years I've nurtured it to be that way, and I'm a kind giving person, and I pray to be humble. Give me humbleness. And if when you have that, people will tend to like you, but don't take that for granted.
When your back's up against the wall, just know you got a place to stay. I know sometimes it gets hard, but all you gotta have is faith. If you can rise to it, you can rise to it. If you can rise to it, you can rise through it.
Hey, what's going on, family, and welcome to another edition of the Rise to It podcast, your home for personal and professional development. My name is Jonathan Hernandez, a.k.a. the letter H, and with us today, we got our boys, Mr. DJ Sal Cortez, Mr. Andre Covington, and Mr. Frankie Leal. What's going on, guys? What's going on? Another episode. Welcome to July. Welcome to July. That sounds crazy.
It goes by quick, man. It goes by really quick.
Yeah. I know you're all on summer vacation. Is that correct, Frankie?
We're on summer vacation, but it doesn't feel like summer vacation.
Yeah.
With Mia and doing all her shows, all of the events that she's doing, and all the photography events that I got going on, it doesn't feel like we're resting. But hopefully this month we'll be able to take a week off or something like that for sure.
Oh, he's dreaming.
Yeah.
He's dreaming out loud now.
I know.
I hear that a lot from the parents. They're like, I'm going to take some time, and then I'll get there, and I'm like, all right, good luck with that, man. Good luck with that. We're going to get back to Mia, because Mia was a special guest somewhere. We'll talk about that in just a bit, for sure. But we want to give some special shout-outs. CSUB in Bakersfield, of course, Omar Correa. They had the summer program, the Rising to Your Future conference. And we had the little ones. We're used to doing the college, adults, high school, middle school. But we had the small kids, right? Around my height. But we had the small kids, nevertheless, and we did our thing.
I gotta say on that, man, one of the smallest ones there stood out the most. You remember that little young lady with the little voice that had all the articulate answers?
Yes. And that
was cool to see.
Sal picked that out. And I wish I would have got her name. I'm going to have to ask Omar. But you could already see here, she's on the path to success, no doubt, for sure. So we had a lot of fun, man. Little kids, they had a good time. Shout out to Dr. Jerry Vang that joined us. And special shout out to the Eagles of Alpine Vista. Shout out to Heather Silva, who brought us. She was just organized from beginning to end. And we had a great time. But Sal, I know you were pleasantly surprised with their energy off the hook from beginning to end.
Oh, no, I was surprised from the moment I pulled up and parked the van.
Talk about it.
That school, I don't know, again, everywhere is different, right? Every school, everything has its own culture. And what stood out for me there at Alpine Vista is it was just crazy. I walked up, and before I could ask, hey, this and this, students were coming up, and they're like, hey, okay, we're here to help you. I'm like, well, I'm here to... So from the get-go, I mean, they had an army of, 40 kids that were part of was it a leadership class or something?
Class, yes.
Mm-hmm. And, man, they set up... Okay, back up. I show up, 10 of them come out and try to help me out, but, my stuff is like a Tetris, so I got to do it a very specific way. So, anyhow, I sat there, and while I'm loading up, all of them, as they arrive, they show up early, right? So this leadership program, they got to show up before everyone else. So they show up, drop a backpack, and get straight to work. No question. The only question they have is, what am I doing? And then once they're told. So what was funny is the whole cafeteria or hall we were in had all these tables set up, and it looked like it was set up for a cafeteria scenario. Those kids flipped that room in about 15 minutes and set out, close to 500 chairs. And it was amazing because they did it within like a 10 to 15. Imagine, what was this, junior high, right?
Junior middle school, yeah.
Middle school. That age group, trying to get one of them to do one thing, but to get 30, 40 of them to flip an entire room in 10 to 15 minutes.
Exactly.
It was amazing, man. They were like little army ants going out there, going to work. But not only that, they were really tuned in, man. They were just a great, we're good. I think we're good at what we do, and I appreciate that. But to say that they were captivated, into it. They leaned into everything that we did, the call and response. I mean, everything. They were in, man. That was really, really cool to watch.
You could see that they're mentally they were engaging. And the same thing happened to me when I got there. They said, we're going to escort you to the venue where you'll be speaking at. And they, I asked them their names, and they told me about my radio station. We listened to you in the morning, so it was really refreshing to see such well-behaved kids. At the same time, they knew they had a job and assignments, and they were on point.
Yes.
And then it's like, I felt like, when sometimes you go and you speak to students, you don't feel like you're really hitting everybody. You feel like you're getting a few of them, but that one I felt like I was getting a lot of them.
Absolutely.
And then afterwards, they all wanted to come up and say stuff and take pictures and sign. We were there for a while, taking pictures and signing stuff.
Yeah. Now, Dre, I think there was a family member in the audience. Did you know that family member was going to be there, a female?
Yeah, I knew that. It was, I say it's my niece. It's really my wife's best friend's daughter.
Okay.
So she's like a niece. They're like sisters. They've been friends since college. I was happy to be a part of that and make them feel special. It's always good when you can, have someone feel good about a situation, and they didn't know, but I knew they were going to be there. So that part I knew.
Props to Brittany Jacobs. She joined us for that event. And props to Brittany because she has big news. She's unfortunately going to be leaving the 559. She got a full ride scholarship at Cal Berkeley. So we want to give her a ring one time right here. She's going to be pursuing her career in business. And that girl, man, you can't hold her down. She's a powerhouse. And so we had a great time in Tulare. First event there, definitely won't be the last. So I agree with everything you guys said. The energy, the respect. I felt like I was talking to college students while they were going. I think I even said that. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm in a college.
It was another level. It almost made me wish I had kids that age so I can put them in that school.
He said almost. He said almost.
Almost.
Sure. I just saw Brittany. I gave her a quick little hug. We didn't get a chance to chit-chat much, but we were at the flag raising for Juneteenth.
Okay.
Downtown, City of Fresno, in front of City Hall. And the mayor was there, and I saw Brittany, and it was pretty cool just to kind of see her out and about doing her thing. I was out there, representing her from my station, so it was really cool to see her. But we're gonna miss her because she's definitely someone who's involved in the community.
She is. Yeah, she is. She's a powerhouse. She's much respected around the community, but she also is just someone that's fun to be around. I learned so much when I'm around her, and I wish her well over there. I know it's not the end, only the beginning for her, and so whatever she has her mindset to, she's gonna accomplish, no doubt. I also want to shout out a guy here, Dre, because I was fortunate, me and my beautiful wife, Maribel Mahdi, we were at Dre's wedding vow renewed. 15 years, correct?
15
the
years,
quinceañera year. We got to give my man a ring for that, man.
Thank you, man.
So, Dre, if we could get the picture for those of you listening and watching on YouTube, we'll get some pictures right here because they were beautiful, man. It was like top notch. The people there, I didn't know who was going to be there. But, man, we have a lot of similar friends, so it was really, really cool. I sat at a table where I knew everybody, man. And how do you know Dre? I didn't know you were going to be here. Don, what's going on? Did you sneak in? I heard there's free food. What's up? Dre, talk about that, man. That was such a beautiful event.
Well, 15 years, it's not forever, but at the same time, in this day and age, you should celebrate, whatever years. Is it 5, 10, 15, whatever, it should be monumental to you. And my wife and I, we felt like we wanted to do something. We wanted to celebrate with our friends, people who, we wanted to come. And afterwards, people were like, hey, you know what, I get the best compliment I got was someone said, you rejuvenated our marriage. My wife and I, we really reflected after seeing what you guys did, and we've been together around the same time, and it's really given us a renewed sense of love. So I thought that was really cool because that's what, we wanted to share, how we feel about each other, and let the world know. It wasn't like somebody cheated or had a side baby, and now you got to go do your vows over again, Damn it, we got to do it all over again, No, it wasn't like that, man. It was just, hey, we wanted to just have a good time and just show that we love each other and move forward. So we, spared no expenses. We had the pyrotechs, we had the dance floor, we had the food, all the drinks. I've gone to some weddings, it's like they cut you off at a certain time. Like, drinks only good up until 10 o'clock, so you're at the bar up until 9:58. Like, give me 3, please. But we just open it up, man, and let people have a good time. So it was fun, man.
It's beautiful. It was beautiful. I know Eli was there getting his dance on.
Hey,
I was jealous of his dance moves.
Good.
Yes, he's in the studio. If you can't see Eli, he's here in the flesh. So
he put together a dance routine. It was the most wonderful moment, of my marriage. except for the first time we got married, and of course the birth of our children. And it was almost the saddest day of my life. Almost the saddest day because my mother fell.
Yes.
And fell and hit her knee and her shoulder and her head, and was like, man, for a minute there it was dicey, but you know she recovered, and like my mom's so strong. Next thing you know, she was, after a while she was back on the dance floor. But for a minute there we almost called 911, you know, because it looked like she kind of blanked out a little bit. But she just her footing, she came off a step wrong and then just fell. So that part was really scary, but you know she bounced back, you know, and sharing with some friends who their mother fell also, and their mother's in the hospital, you know, so, and they were there, so they were kind of like, you know, they were at the event going, hey man, you know, your mom okay? Because like right now my mother, when you get a certain age, man, you have to really be careful of those types of things. Even now, you know, I'm getting older, I don't want to fall. My son falls for the fun of it. He'll just run and fall. I'll be like, did that hurt? No, Dad, I'm okay. But me, man, I don't want to. I'm like, you don't want to fall for nothing. Like falling is like, you get back up. You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not an elderly man, but at the same time, it's not something you look forward to doing. So,
very true.
But you know what? Mom's good, so that was a blessing.
Amen, man. Yeah, that was a blessing. She was looking good, man. Everybody was looking good at the wedding, man. It was everybody 5-star dressing, man. So I mean, I had to make sure I was fitted right.
You was clean, man. You know, it was all black attire. You know, we requested everybody wear all black. Of course, I had on a white jacket. I had to be different. I had to stand out, you know.
You had to rise to it.
I had to rise to it, man. So, yeah. But, hey, Dr. H came, man. He came suited and booted. He went to tell somebody. I don't know who you went to see, but you came and represented. If there was a contest for who was, you know, the second best looking dude there, you might have got it, homie. You might have got it.
For sure. We had a great time. Thank you so much for the invite, man. And those pictures are going to be, you know, around forever. And you guys are going to remember that evening, that whole day, man. And it was special. It was really, really special to be there. Appreciate for sure. Frankie, speaking of special, and now we had a special guest in a college classroom. Talk a little bit about that.
First, thank you for inviting me to go speak to your communication classes. She had just finished doing a takeover tour for Visalia Unified School District, and she did that with you.
I was a part of that, yeah, man.
The
Back
mind
up,
takeover.
tell him who she is.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry about that. But Mia May is a rising music artist, right, from the local or from the Central Valley. And first, she did the takeover tour where she did every single campus. Here in Visalia, she did every single middle school, every high school, and that was they call it like a mind takeover thing, where taking over your mind, taking control of your mind, and making positive choices. So she was an advocate for that. She talked a little bit about her experiences with anxiety and stuff like that. But she took it to another level when you invited her to go speak at your communication class at Porterville College. Me as a dad, I was a little nervous about that just because she's done the high school circuit and she's done shows and concerts. But she's never really gone into a college, right? And I was talking to Baby Bash when she was there, and he was telling me, Frankie, do you realize that she's 16 and she's talking to 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, and 20-year-olds. She's something else. She's special.
We have a lot of
yeah. And Mom and me were super impressed with her because I think she held her own and she touched on everything that she was supposed to touch on. 45-minute speech that she did. Wow. And yeah, I think the kids were drawn to her. She resonated with them. Like she spoke on things that were relatable with them and stuff like that. So it was a good experience for her, and we can't wait to go back and do it again.
Let's run it back, man. Mia, we actually requested her upcoming song because it's coming out July when?
July 14th.
July 14th. So she gave us a Costco sample. And so I can't wait, man, to get the whole aisle number 3 because everybody's like, man, that sounds so good. And she's so diverse. She adapts to different genres. You guys were showing me, get the exclusive, y'all. I get pretty like sneak peek over here, but you guys showed me an exclusive song that's more of like a bluesy alternative song. So she's not a one-trick pony. I feel like our team as well. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's right up my alley.
Yeah.
One thing I love about her, your daughter, she's always open for corrective criticism or even just like, hey, you should try this way. She's wide-eyed. She's ready to absorb. Right. She's not to the point where she's like, no, don't worry about it. She's, because I put her to the side on a few occasions and say, hey, next time when you're doing this, why don't you try it this way? She goes, yeah, I like that. I'm going to try that. And then, boom, next time we're together, she'll do it. It's like she's taking it in, and she's like, yeah, that really worked. I like the fact that, you told me how to do that. And I said, I like the fact that you did it and pulled it off. That's even more important, because people can give you advice all the time, and it's not that you're going to take it. And I'm not just saying that my advice is going to be better than what you're doing now, but at least she's open for suggestions, and she's open to try it. And then if she did feel like it's more comfortable doing it the other way, then you can always go back and do it. But I've always tried to live my life like that. When people pull me to the side and go, hey, you know what? And I've tried to do that. I don't care who it is. I've given jokes to some of the biggest stars out there. I put them, hey man, that one joke you did, and they kind of look at you like, all right. And then you see them on stage doing it. I've seen guys do some of the stuff that I've given them on their HBO specials. Now, I didn't they didn't pay me anything, but they see me, they just they give me a hug, and it's a tight hug. Yeah. Because they know. And one particular comic, and I'll just say his name because he don't mind, because we talked about it, D.L. Hughley, I had wrote a bit years ago, and I used to do it. And I didn't do it anymore. And then he did it in one of his specials. And it was like a bit I did, but I didn't. But later when we bumped heads, I got a lot of love for DL. Like, he hired me to write for him, and he paid me really well. I don't know if it was makeup or whatever, but at the same time, it was like, I think he appreciated my style. Right. And I think sometimes if you can subliminally write a joke that you heard someone else do, but then years go by, and you just write it, and you be like, wow, that's funny, I'm gonna use that. And it's like, then someone has to remind you, hey man, I kind of did that joke. Oh. Yeah, my bad. So I like the fact that, again, go back to that, your daughter was able to listen and follow through, and she's a phenomenal talent.
Well, that just struck me, communication, right? So artist, singer, right?
Yeah, music artist,
music artist, and comedian. But you think about the fact that Dre's been on some pretty substantial stages, right?
Oh, for sure.
The fact that you're sharing your experience with her from a different angle, but because I think comedians are more critical, because it's your thing to kind of dissect things, right? Yeah. Or see it in a different light or angle or whatnot that not everyone else does. So to get, a singer or a musician to get stage tips from someone, especially a comedian, that's awesome. And the fact that she's open to it.
She's a sponge. And I mean, especially coming from you, Dre, where you have all that experience and you've been in front of crowds and you know how to take control of those people. So she took a lot of value from what you told her, and she came and she was happy. She shared it with me and Mom, and I was like, that's awesome that Dre told you that. And I told her, listen to him, like he knows what he's talking about, and she did. And kind of going back to what you said about giving DL the joke, it kind of came back the full circle, because you almost gave him that Costco sample that Jonathan says. You gave him that Costco sample. He liked it. He liked your style. And then I think it came back and it ended up paying off for you, right? So one thing that Mia did, and I don't know if you noticed it, but right after she was done, I thought she did great. But the first thing she told you was, critique me, or what did I do? She told you like right at the end. And I was like, she just wants to learn. Like, I thought she did great, but she was still asking those questions, like, what could I do better? And I know you're busy, but when you do have time, send me a bullet point,
I got
send me some notes, bro. Send me some notes. Right. And because I know everything's all love, and whatever you send her, she'll be able to take from that and become a better speaker.
Yeah. I know. I know exactly what you're talking about. Mia right afterwards was already kind of like, man, picking on herself. And for me, I think that's extremely humble, because she's self-aware. And that's where actually we want to go with this message today, critiquing ourselves, being mindful about we're not perfect. And so she picked out the imperfections. And I go, Mia, just enjoy it, because me, 38 years young, going to be pushing 40 soon, I have been obsessed, even if it's a great event, even if it's a joyous occasion, of continuously trying to be better. And that's what I'm working on now, being self-aware of, like, enjoy the moment. Like, it went great, we'll make those adjustments later, but enjoy what's going on right now. And so that's pretty much what I told her. I go, there were so many things I told her. You were so relatable. There was about 60 seconds in my first class. I think it hit her, and she was in her own mind for about 60 seconds. And just like I was telling you and Celeste before we started this podcast, she made that adjustment. And that's a professional right there. Instead of just losing your mind and losing the crowd and everything could have gone everywhere, she really just snapped back and like, I got this. And she did prove that. And so from then on, she made that quick adjustment. And then from class 1 and class 2, boom, it was on and cracking. So that's where I told her, I go focus on that, because public speaking, stand up, it never goes perfect. It never goes exactly how you plan it. In fact, I want to apologize to Dre. So we're going to kick off this self-awareness. The last event that we did, there was a computer malfunction. And so for me, I know even Sal was like, oh, that happens. He's prepared with batteries. He's like, is your remote not working? And I'm like, it's not the remote. It's actually the computer. Thinking back at it, I'm like, I should have asked that venue, because we were using their computer and it could easily say, oh, it was on them. No, it was on me, because I should have asked for a battery along with the computer to make sure everything's 100% ready to go. For me, I'm like, I could take that, that criticism. They were gracious enough for us to use their computer, etc. But speaking of self-awareness, and we're going to have some fun with this because I love picking on myself, but we're also going to pick on the things that we do extremely well. I tell my students, in our society, we're obsessed with it's easy. It's the easy thing to do, to pick out the things that we're not good at. But we also should take pride in what we do extremely well. And so, for example, like this desk right here, this podcast studio that we have here, there is this, one of the guys I got, close to, our Xfinity guy. And so he comes over, we talk football. And so he's asking me what I do and stuff, and I'm talking about teaching. I also do speaking. He's like, oh, yeah? I go, yeah, I got a team. And so I'm mentioning you guys, and Dre's name, as it usually does, rings a bell. And so my guy's like, Andre Covington, like Q97, Greg and Dre. I'm like, yeah, that's my dude. Like, let me show you upstairs. So he was just like really dumbfounded by everything. And so I always kept his number, because I know for the reason there's going to be one day I need him to come over. Like, hey, man, this is not working. And he's a cool dude. We talk smack. He's a Cowboys fan. I'm a Raiders fan. Dre's a Raider fan, too. Yes, so we're good. And so he comes in the studio, and he's like, yo, like, tell Dre to take it easy on my Cowboys. And, I hear him, bagging on the Niners. I would say about a month later, sure enough, something goes down on my internet. And so I got his number. I'm like, yo, bro, can you come over? Yo, H, dude, it takes like 3 minutes. And I go, okay, I don't think you heard what I just said. You need to come over and fix this, man. I'm like, whenever is good for you. It doesn't need to be today. H, a 4th grader could do it. And I go, my man, Carlos, when can you come over to fix this, bro? So being self-aware enough to understand I am not good with a lot of technology. I am not good with, as far as my hands putting up Christmas lights. I don't know if Dre remembers this, but me and the wifey had a Golden Girls theme going on during Christmas.
Remember that?
The lights were up. The lights were looking legit. And Dre, before he walks in the house, is like, I know you did not get up there and put these lights on. He's absolutely right, because you guys know me, right? That's not my thing. If I tried, I'd be in the hospital. You guys have to rise to it over there and visit me, right? With a neck brace and everything. I understand my limits. I understand things I'm good at. I understand things I'm just not interested in doing, to be honest with you. And therefore, that's not my lane. So over the years, I've understood my lanes. So I've understood my God-given talents, things I want to work on. So being self-aware, I know, not I think, I know every single one of us could critique ourselves. We could critique each other. And it's all out of love. It's to be better, right? Yeah. So with that said, Sal, being self-aware, how do you take that? How do you develop those skills to become a monster business like Bliss? And over the years of continuous improvement, because every single time I talk to you, it's always, well, we could have done this better. And I think that's really, really awesome for someone to say, rather than we got it like that. So talk to us about how you incorporate some self-awareness.
I got to believe that my self-awareness came from a very young age, growing up with older brothers that always their goal always was to knock you down, right? Whether it was smack talking, but it was always easy fruit for them, the me and my bushy hair, or whatever it was. I had a little phase where I put on weight, so there was hey chubby, or whatever it was. I'll save the words, but you can use your imagination. But I think it's a double-edged sword being self-aware, right? So some people could take it to the extreme to where it could be detrimental, but you could also use it to better yourself, right? I just watched the Doc Arnold on Netflix, right? The one of the things that stood out to me on the part 1 was really, really cool. Him and his brother grew up in the same family, same OCD mom, same abusive dad, come from, just basically a impoverished situation. And they grew up, Arnold used that to fuel his fire to get where he was going. His brother ended up becoming an alcoholic and dying in a crash while he was drunk. So same DNA, same everything, but you can take what you got and do one or the other with it. And that was a clear example that kind of stood out to me. But for myself, I've always loved music. I've always I take my DJ career, I'll call it a career because it's that now, back to starting when I was 8. We probably talked about that in an earlier episode. But from early on, I think my self-awareness with that came from playing music. That didn't work. Okay, let's do this. Or it worked over here. Why did it work here but not over there? Oh, it's how I set it up. And now the way I play music when I'm doing what I do, being self-aware, I've been able to fine-tune that, but that's not something that happened overnight. It's been over the life of me playing music for, fun and now for a living. But self-awareness, I think that's where it was rooted for myself, but I apply it to almost everything, right? So let's just say a setup for an event that we do. Self-awareness comes to us and the way that I standardize the way every one of our DJ goes out and looks at an event aesthetically. So when you look at our setup, it's not, a table with gear piled up and wires and looking terrible, or, a giant banner, and there's no knock to those that do it. It's their style. But for us in certain situations, it's just got to look a certain way for an event because it's styled. So we try to blend, but I mean, every aspect of it, whether it's that, being self-aware with our conversations, who we're talking to. I mean, I think constantly, all day long, even just interactions on who you're talking to. I noticed something with you when we were doing the event. So your teacher mode kicked in. So I noticed when you spoke to the younger ones, your tone changed, your body language changed, everything. And everybody does that, right? When you see the baby, you turn it into, right?
How was that again? Go ahead.
It's not the, it's not the, hey, listen here, right? It's a completely different thing. And I think we're always constantly doing that. It's just, for me, it's something that stands out in every aspect. Only, you know what? I'll even take it back because I did have a 10-year career working within the health department, and their whole thing was, don't get us sued. That's the bottom line. Whatever you do not get us sued. And whenever you would, so it just, they kind of coached me in a way to ride a line or know where the line is with certain things. And that's another thing that I took with me to this, what I do now, right, is, don't get sued. Be self-aware. If you're self-aware, the only one you can blame is going to be you. And if, you do something that comes back to bite you in one way or another, don't let it happen again. Learn from it, right? Right. Again, and that's being self-aware. If you deflect, if you're a person that deflects everything, one my fault. I don't know about that computer. That's on them. You're never going to grow. It's never going to get better. It's never going to be better. So, that's something that I think anybody could learn, but you got to kind of be open to it. If you're the I'm always right person, now's the time to be self-aware and know that you're not.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Dre, what about you being self-aware? I mean, you being a comedian, different crowds, some are feeling you, some are not, most of them. So, I mean, you're a killer at what you do, but it took time to do that. How did you practice the self-awareness, or how did you become aware of your self-awareness over the years?
Yeah, humor is changing over the years. It's still changing each and every day. Now we're in a cancel society, cancel culture. You can say something and be on top of the world, and it's all come crumbling down. With just one flip of the tongue, something comes out. And so you have to be self-aware of that, and I think the day where a comedian would say, I'm just going to say what I want to say. They paid to see me. I think those days are pretty much over, especially starting off. You can get away with it at a certain Dave Chappelle level, and you're still going to get backlash. Right. You're never going to get away from that. So I try to be aware of those things. And one thing that I'm really, my self-awareness is that it's not always going to be funny. And that's the killer for a comic. Like, you go in thinking, I'm about to kill this crowd. It's like, you look at other comics, they're rocking, and you go out and it's a subpar set. and you're like, man, you can beat yourself up for a long time. But you got to sometimes go ahead, and then some guys make excuses. Oh, the crowd was tired. Why did he go so long? And it's like, hey, man, it wasn't your night tonight. Get them next time.
Right.
So I've adopted a get them next time attitude. Whereas before, you could just couldn't sleep, you battle with it, and that's just not a good way to live. Because then you're putting so much pressure on yourself going into it. You want to do good, you prepare and you go out and you do it. And when it goes great, I try to stay right there. Hey man, you killed it. Yeah, man, it was a good time. I really enjoyed that. Let me go back over these notes and see what really worked and what I thought was going to work didn't work, and what I didn't think was going to work. That you have those moments. So man, it's such a vast amount of information that goes through your brain, your computer, and then it comes out, and then you just don't know. It's that unknown, what's going to work. Frankie, you've seen a lot of comedians doing shows, and you may watch a video of a guy and be like, oh, man, he killed it. Then you'll see him do that same joke and be like, oh, that didn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
Or you go, this guy's kind of bombing. I thought this guy was good. It's like, well, he is good. He's good because he got your attention, but who knows what's going on in his life up to that moment? Or is he just having a bad day? Or is he was so confident, he got overconfident,
Yeah.
Or he took something for granted. I try to know my crowd, and I tell other comics that's one big thing. Know your crowd when you go. I mean, I make sure I say, hey, what's the ethnic background of your audience? What's the breakdown? What's it going to be? 20% Hispanic, 50%, or whatever. And that makes a difference. Some guys it don't matter. My jokes are my jokes. I don't know, bro. I don't know about that. You may want to ask. Maybe this is a Christian crowd. Maybe
Very
a lot
true.
of Catholics out there. Do you want to certain jokes you have? Do you want to tell it that way? Maybe you can tweak a little bit. Well, I'm not switching my jokes for nobody. You're not there yet, bro, to be that commanding. So if you want to keep just setting bridges on fire, you go a venue, you bomb. They say you're not welcome back here. Oh well, go to the next one. It's the same thing. So you're never going to get to where you're going because there's a fire behind you, just bridges on fire. So try to be aware of your surroundings, kind of know what it is that you do. I take pride in my self-awareness of, and I don't say this to be, conceited or anything. I'm likable, but I work hard at being likable. I don't go around, just kissing everybody's butt. But my personality is as such that over the years I've nurtured it to be that way, and I'm a kind, giving person, and I pray to be humble. Give me humbleness, and if you have that, people will tend to like you. But don't take that for granted. Don't think everybody's gonna like you because they're not. So no matter what you do, they're just not gonna like you.
Exactly.
So don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. Now, Dre says something right now that we covered in one of my classes, demographics. And so I can guarantee most comedians are not asking, I know you do with your business, what's the demo? And so for our speaking engagements, it's crazy because schools are like, hey, we want you to come out and speak. You want the team? You want me? What do you want? Oh, there's options, right? Providing people options. Well, what's the demographic of your school? It's like crickets. Like they've never, ever heard a speaker ask them, which I feel is the basic stuff, but it's not.
Yeah.
Most speakers come in, they do exactly what Dre said. I'm going to speak, I'm going to give my inspirational story, and I'm going to travel the road doing the same exact story.
Cookie cutter type stuff.
Cookie cutter stuff, Frankie. Yeah. And so for us, we always go back to the drawing board because I think we have a creative outlet, all of us. Right. And so we want to push the boundary. We could easily do the same thing over and probably be effective.
Yeah.
But we want to see what else is on the other side. And I think
one of the things we all have in common with our professions is we fine tune what we do. I do it with what I do. Dre does it. You in the photography and the videography. You in your class, you gotta. I don't even know what you call it. You build the work they got to do, right? So it's all fine tuned. So that's something that we all do.
Yeah,
very
and
true.
If anybody out there remembers, you have to turn the dial, right? Because if you go one way too far, you kind of bring it back. So I feel like with this self-awareness thing, it's constant. It should constantly be that. All day, every day, especially if it's a business situation that you're trying to get into.
You still turning dials? Most people just pushing.
Well, I was laughing today because I moved my DJ booth console, which you guys have all seen, right?
Yeah.
And I stood back for a minute, and I had a flashback to being a little kid when the TV used to be this big wooden box, and you would flip it up, and then the equipment is up here on top, right?
Yeah.
So my console mimics that of what I, just because it's the box, the screen, the audio gears up on top. So I had a little flashback with dials. And took me back. Maybe that's where my head's at.
That's where it's at. It still is a great point, though.
It is. Frankie, what about you? Self-awareness, doing the graphic design to photography. I know you have your own lanes too in photography. I always thought photographers did the same thing. Like they all do portraits or they all do nature. They're all, I have my own lane. So how'd you create your self-awareness over the years?
Yeah, I mean, being an artist, I'm always very critical on my own work, on my pictures, designs, and I've never been 100% satisfied over any project that I've done, any work that I've done. I've always come home and I've always just told myself, man, I could have done this better. I could have did this. I should have said that, or I should have moved the hand here, this pose, the lighting. I'm just always critiquing myself. One thing that I do tell my clients, especially like when I do weddings and stuff like that, is I tell them I'm not the best. Like I just make that clear. I'm not, you're not going to pay top dollars, but I'm also not the worst either. Like I humble myself, right? I tell them I'm right here. I'm right in the middle. I'm going to take some good pictures. They're not going to be bright. They're not going to be too dark. They're not going to be out of focus. They're just going to be really good pictures. Consistency is where I take pride in. It's just I'm consistent. I've been keeping it that way. I mean, well, that's what I strive for, is just to stay consistent. When people hire me, they know that they're going to get a Frankie Leal picture. With my studio work, I do have a little bit more time and creativity to play with the lighting, play with the poses, and I feel like that's more of my lane, is to do the studio portraiture. So I feel like when people do call me, it's for headshots and stuff like that. But with the other type stuff, I do understand that it's not my lane, and I do get hit up a lot. And I do the work, because at the end of the day, we got bills to pay, and why not? Like, why would I turn down a wedding or a quinceañera and stuff like that? Because I do enjoy doing them as well. I won't promote them as much, because I do understand it's not really my lane. Yeah, so I'm just like really upfront and honest with my clients, let them know this is my work, this is what I do, and then if they're happy with it, and then we can move forward.
I'll bet you none of them's ever been disappointed. I guarantee. Because I hear you're very humble with it, but man, you definitely. I've seen your live work at the Rise to It. Most of the pictures that get posted on Instagram look amazing, man, and that's
yeah. I mean,
that's you.
It's fun, for me. It's fun. And
Evan,
yeah.
I can say the same about them too. We just do it because we just love it. Yeah. So we've never really had no one super angry with us as far as, hey, my pictures suck or whatever, I want my money back. So we haven't had that. But then again, we're up front in the beginning. This is our work. These like, they know our expectations and stuff like that. So it's been all good.
Frankie and I were having a conversation in Celeste weeks ago. There was an incident that happened, and you're like apologizing, and I was like, dude, I'm going to mess up on you too. And so, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, there was a thing that happened, and Frankie,
talk about it.
Yeah, Frankie missed a dinner that we had planned, so I'm there. Like, he basically stood me up, is what I'm saying, man. So I was there,
like, you were
at the bed. I was ready. I was like,
hold on. Were you at the restaurant?
I was already, man.
So I already know this was not a big deal.
I had a couple tacos. It was a wrap, dude. We were good. What happened, right?
Talk about it.
But no, I actually, that night, it was great because it was one of our favorite Mexican restaurants for all of us here in Visalia. So I was there. I actually got to talk to the manager. Like, I'm just vibing. I was having a good time. And then he tells me, and there was a piece of me that turned to the old John. Of like, this dude, right? Like, how dare him shaking my fist? But there was somebody that fell at the restaurant too. There were so many things that happened. That was my cue to go. I was like, yeah, maybe it's just go home. God's telling me,
meant to be.
Call it a night, bro. But I also told Frankie when we started and we made it official, because Frankie's always been rocking with us unofficially, but when we made it official a little over a year ago, I said, I'm going to mess up on you. There's going to be a time where I mess up on you. And now when I think about being self-aware, it's going to happen for all of us.
Yeah.
Like, right, with the Dre, the computer, Sal has, I mean, the other day I thought you were late to this guy, Joker over here. He's like yawning. And I was like, this guy did not sleep in, did he? And then he's like, I'm just kidding. I'm outside, right? So he comes correct with
joke. As I was pretending that I was still in bed, you were walking out the door looking at me.
Yeah. So I thought my dude was late, but nevertheless, like, that's going to happen. That's life. That's human nature. What are some things, I'll pick an example, and I talk about this with my students. I have a beautiful wife. We're all blessed to have beautiful wives in our life. in my interpersonal class, we talk about relationships. We talk about first impressions, what gets our attention, etc. So I always make the joke, but it's not a joke. I'm always talking about how women, especially early on, it's not for everyone, but a lot of women, they're already thinking about the wedding. They're already thinking about the special day. I'm going to get DJ Sal. I already seen that, what they could do, right? Dre, I'm going to have him do some stand-up. Frank, I'm going to take pictures. They're planning that day. And so for me, I'm open with my students and transparent. I'm like, do you think my wifey, as beautiful as she is, was thinking of a 5'5", chubby, like goofy, oily skin, Trudeau-looking legs, do you even live, bro, type of dude as her dream man? And everybody's like cracking up because they're like, wow, this dude really is self-aware. But I really am. I'm like, man, I'm blessed, right? I know I'm not all that. I know like there's other better looking dudes. So I'm self-aware in that area. I'm also self-aware with our team. I know when to step back of like, let's have Dre, let's have Brittany, let's have Sal speak a little bit more on this one because the vibe, I think just me speaking, I think there's something else that we could have. We have so many options. We could pass the ball to somebody else. So me humbling myself over the years of like, we have a team for a reason, all right? We could pass the ball. We could alley-oop to anybody and throw that dunk down. So Sal, what's something over the years that you've really kind of locked in on of, I do this, there is room for improvement?
In what I do, the MC portion of what we do with our business, years ago, man, it took me a long time to get better at it. So I am constantly always working on it. And I openly, within our group, I'll always ask Davey, I'll always ask JR, tell me what could I have done better here? Because there's been situations where your adrenaline gets going or the butterflies are a little, because I still get those, which is a good thing. I think they'll never go away. And I think if they do, that's, you quit caring about what you're doing. But one of my things that I know that I do when I'm emceeing, if I start to lose focus, I start to talk faster. And I just start, motor mouth. And I'll ask, and that's the one critique I'll get back is, hey, what'd you think? It's like, you went a little fast. You got to let them absorb, pause. You would know this with timing, right? It's delivery. So it's all timing. It's doing what you do, pause, wait for it, almost till it gets awkwardly weird, and then dive in, when we're emceeing or whatnot. Yeah. So that would be a work one. Tell me, I got to know what this personal one is.
So I'm gonna hit you with this. If people were to look at all four of us, and if they know us, even just after a couple of days, they could ask, who's the most critical on the team? By far, I feel everyone would say me. They'd be like, John, for sure. Yeah. That ain't the case. It's this dude right here. And what I mean by that, and it's a blessing because every time I ask you, you're like, almost like, do you want, like, are you sure? It's always like with the old Hulk, you won't like me when I'm angry, like type of thing, right? And so I'm like, give it to me, man. Like, go for it. Sal's critique is justified. So if you run into Sal, our viewers, or just anybody on the team, if you want a true critique that is valid, because my dude is very constructive, he's providing the criticism, but he also is justified with everything he says. We did an event about 4 months ago, and he's like, yeah, I'd give that a B. I'm like, bro, that was off the chain. Like, what are you seeing? I asked him, what are you seeing? Like, that I'm not seeing. And then now my thing, you guys, plug in the holes. What are the holes that I'm, plug that in?
Right,
my dude from A to Z went in, and he goes, now I think about maybe a C. And I was like, yeah, man, touche. I see it, and I appreciate that because most people won't. They're going to be like, how dare you, man? Mic drop moment. People were standing ovation. Sal's like, well, we could have worked here. You could have done that. I'm like, yo, he's absolutely right. So props to my bro. Right?
Well, I appreciate that. And I feel like we see that in our general lives, but we don't always say it because we know the personalities already. And I already know that you would totally be open to, oh, shoot, you're right. So that, again, working within this group or these types of personalities is a big deal. Because there's people in my personal life that I could do that to, and they're like, you're wrong, right? And you get that pushback, and it's like, well, can't do nothing with that.
I know when I've had a real good speaking engagement, because in H, you're always encouraging. Hey, man, hey, Dre, that was great, man. And, Frankie, you always give, hey, man, good pats on the back. But Sal, he really, he'll look you dead eye and go, bro, you did that one.
Yeah.
You like you really like, man, I could just see the room, and like even me, man, I got a little emotional just listening to that, and like I know I did good that day. I'll be riding home, go, I must have did good because I was like really kind of like, but then I know some days I know I just did okay because I'll be like, hey Sal, he's like, yeah, man, that was cool. Hey, that was you know, you gonna get some to eat?
Starting to sweat over here in the
Yeah,
hot seat.
man, but you know, it's like you know when you nail, because it's like it's just it's the real deal. It's the like
You feel it in your soul.
yeah, you were able to touch, and some days, you know, we may not be able to really reach in there and grab. The intentions are, you know, that's one thing we say to our viewers. It's like it's always the intention is to like really touch the soul of an individual. Sometimes, you know, you just maybe get the heart, you know, which is good. You know, you can touch someone's heart, but it's not like that soul, man, because that soul will resonate.
Oh, it's wild. There's a kid, I'll never forget. It was one of the ones we did where the kid came up at the end and shared a personal story of his father passing away, and some of the words that we all together, we all shared that day really struck him. And we had a little 10-minute heart-to-heart afterwards, and we're talking about a 12-year-old kid who came up at the end of the event. And that particular event felt a little loose on the student side, right? They let them have their phones. So there's, you know, some of them are sitting there doing what they do with their phones. And at the end, when it was a wrap, it was like it was a good event. It was a solid event. But I wish the kids didn't have their phones, right? Because we would have just captivated them a little more. But with me walking away with those feelings, I'm literally loading up the last piece of gear in the van. This little kid just comes up and says, hey, thank you guys. Right. And he shared what he shared.
Dre, over the years practicing your self-awareness, what have you noticed critiquing yourself? Nobody else but you critiquing yourself. What is something that you're like, I need to work on this. I need to work on this, like whether it's comedy, whether it's marriage, it could be anything, right? What is a reoccurring theme for you?
Well, for me, it's just I like my alone time. You know, I like to be able to do some things like by myself. And you know, you got kids. Like my son is here, and you know, and my wife. You got to realize that has to get smaller and smaller. Like when you're single, you may have 8-9 hours that day to just be by yourself and chill. You start having kids, now you may have 2 hours. Maybe, then you get a wife and kids, you get 5 minutes to yourself. It's mostly in the bathroom with the door locked. I'm in here. That's your 5 minutes. And so, I try to, that part, I have to self-awareness, be like, I'm not going to always, I ask for it sometimes. My wife got into a little bit yesterday because I was like, hey, I'm going to go get some golf balls. Like, really? I thought we were going to spend some time together today. It's like, guess I'm not going to hit no golf balls. You have to understand that, it's not about you. It's great if they say, yeah, go do that. You really need to go do it. Then you're like, oh, thank you. Then the stars have lined up. So I have to realize that I can't, when I want to, always have that. Because sometimes she does say, yeah, go ahead, honey, go ahead. I'm going to go start dinner. You got an hour and a half. Go have some fun. Oh, boy, you go, thank you, and you run out the door. But it's not going to always be that way. Sometimes they're going to say no, and then I get in my little mood then. It's like, damn it, okay. I really want to go do that. So now you're in your mood, and now you just wasted an hour, 2 hours being in the mood.
Right.
So then you might as well went and hit the balls and just made everybody.
Yeah.
It's
Happy,
like it's just. It's a no-win situation, so you just got to go, hey, you know what? It's not this time, so let me snap out of it. Let me just go, so what do you guys want to do? You want to do something? You want to have a glass of wine?
Oh, yeah, it's a self-aware thing, man. It's you just like you could take any situation, and it's your reaction and attitude towards it, which will dictate how the rest of that day or trip or whatever goes, for sure.
Sure. I tell my wife, I say, hey, look, you can get mad and stay mad, or you can get mad and get over it. Like, right. Which one is it going to be? I want to get over it, but first, my self-awareness is I have to acknowledge why you're mad and what part I played in it. So once I acknowledge what part I played in, then I can now apologize for that. That can help you get over being mad, as opposed to going, well, you need to get over it.
Yeah.
That's no solution. That's a demand. And now they're even more mad.
Yup.
So now you just dug a hole. Now you're like, okay, I might as well go hit some golf balls now because you're back to that again.
B, by the way, don't be listening to this one.
No.
Yeah.
It's Dr. H. He did it.
Yeah. Yo, when Dre was talking, I was thinking of the ambivert. So we hear about extroverts. We hear about introverts, right? So Dre,
What's the other vert?
ambivert. So check. Most people don't know what this is.
I didn't know what that was.
That's
either.
some doctor stuff.
Yeah, man,
You
check
gotta be a
this out.
professor.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about that.
That's
This is
what I
the
learned.
combination of extrovert and introvert, which I today, being self-aware, practicing it every day, I'm not, 100% like any of us, but I identify more with like an ambivert of both. I love positive energy. After that, I'm ready to shut off and kind of just be by myself with body and just watch a movie, just relax. I've noticed that through Dre. So a lot of people, oh man, he's so funny. I'm like, but he knows how to turn it on and off. One of my things that I love watching Dre, and Sal, you've probably caught this in Frankie as well. When it's time to shine, it's 5 minutes before we're gonna go on stage and kill it. Dre will leave like our area and walk by himself. And so for me, I've noticed over the years, whether it's comedy or speaking, he needs to get in the zone. And I'm like, my dude's in it. I'm not gonna buck him right now. Like he's in his own lane right now.
Well, let's take a tip from that.
Yeah.
What's going through your head
Yeah.
in that 5-10 minutes that you take for yourself before hitting the stage?
Well, first of all, I'm thankful for the opportunity, whatever that opportunity is at that moment. I'm thankful that whatever happened to bring me to this place happened. All the things that led me up to this. Now I'm trying to pull from an experience that's like what I'm about to do. This is similar to something you did 10 years ago when you were at that one school when you were speaking. So now I'm going to pull from that. Now I'm running through my progression of what it is, how I'm going to start A, B, C, and D, and I'm going to finish. And I'm also saying here I'm going to improv. Here is a mystery. I don't know what I'm going to say. That keeps me fresh and that keeps me on my toes. If you just go A to Z and you know you're going to stay from start to finish, you're robotic. It's gonna. So what I try to do, and that's why I'm able to, and I don't have any problem with people who have notes because I used to do notes all the time. But over my years, I've said to myself, for me, it hinders me from being all the way in it,
Absolutely.
In the moment.
in the moment. So you notice even at my vow renewal, like my wife had a whole 2 pages.
I caught that, man. Yeah.
And she didn't even know. Like she set it down. And then she got up there to the altar, and she goes, "Oh, where's my speech?" And I pulled it out and I said, "Here you go."
Yeah,
And
smooth.
And then she was like, "Oh my God, I need my glasses." Boom, there you go. That's knowing your significant other and knowing what they're gonna need. So I had both items.
Dre, I need $50 right now. Yeah, pull it out.
You got a luck right there. So what I'm able to do is I give myself moments to go off page and just go wherever my experience takes me. I'm gonna let that happen, and it's just organic.
Right.
And from that, you probably, for me, I get my realest moments. It was part of even my speech. It wasn't scripted. The thing I did about how I pray for people.
Yeah.
That was off the cuff because I said a moment I'm going to talk about, how the Lord has helped me in how when I go to bed, what things that I do preparing myself, and then how I left it open for interpretation in that moment, and then that's when it all came out. And then I think that you hear a lot of people sniffing in the audience at that moment, and a lot of people told me I was doing good up until you did that little prayer thing, and then you got me. Even some of my coolest boys, they was like, "Dre, man, you had a brother dabbing, you had to be dabbing." So I wouldn't have gotten that, I don't believe, if I would have written that out that way.
Exactly.
So, for me, hey, have your notes, have it, but leave yourself an opportunity where you say, from here, I'm gonna wing it. I'm gonna go with my heart and my soul in this particular moment and see what comes out.
Yeah, and Mia did that in my classroom. There was times where she's like, I have the notes. I don't need the notes.
Right.
And so for you, Frankie, over the years, whether it's photography, whether it's your relationship with your kids, What have you noticed that you need to work on over the years?
How much time do we have? No,
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah.
there's so much, bro, that I can work on. But one of the things that I can definitely work on is being organized and being on top of the mundane stuff. Like, I take pride of being an artist, a creative. I like to create and produce. And I feel like in general, not all of us, but most artists tend not to be as organized, and that's one of my weaknesses.
That's why they pay people to do that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the getting, the emailing, the text, just the everyday, the boring stuff, the contracts, the invoicing, all of that stuff to me, the everyday stuff, it's boring to me, right? And it's no excuse, but if we're being real, it's just super boring. Like not that I said my priorities wrong, but I like to do what I love to do first, and everything that I don't like to do, I put it on the back burner. It's not okay. It's definitely not okay. When we had our publication, we had a magazine, we had it for 14 years, and we were out in Kingsburg and Wheatley, and it was a really good magazine. It was called Traffic Magazine. Awesome. I mean, our accounts receivable, like the amount of money that people owed us, like I could have bought a Porsche because I wasn't good at collecting. I wasn't good at going out and asking people for money. And these are people that I would see like at the local grocery store that would owe me money, right? Wow. And Dre, you're exactly right. We could hire people. That's another weakness, is building a team, paying people for me to stay in my lane, and to hire people that could do what they do really well, like collecting and stuff like that. So one thing that I could work on is allowing other people to come into my little circle and giving them some control, and hey, you do this because you do it well and stuff like that, right? Because I know it, at the end of the day, it does limit me, where I'm not, as a business, I'm not growing. I could be way bigger than I am today, but because, not that I'm a control freak, but I just keep it close, it doesn't really allow me to grow as much as it can be. It could turn into a monster, type of business.
That collecting stuff, let's think if you hired someone to do that, and you said, you keep half, I get half.
Yeah.
Say it's $20,000. That's $10,000 each, and that's, you didn't have to do anything.
Right.
But since someone, here's the list to go get them. And another thing with the calendar stuff, your wife was going to probably do a great job keeping your information. She should forward it over to you. So it now goes into your calendar too. Because my wife has told me, look, I'm your backup. Like, we set our alarms. I set my alarm. I get up really early. But then she sets her alarm to go off 15 minutes after my alarm, just in case my alarm doesn't go off. It's like, it's not her responsibility for me to get the work, but it's her responsibility to help me, because she's my helpmate. Right. So she's to help me make sure that I get the work.
That you get there.
But it's not her job to make. It's not her first priority. That falls on me.
Right.
So, but I appreciate her saying, "Okay, I got your back." Just because there's been times my alarm didn't go off. Maybe there was an outage. I didn't plug it in, and the phone died. And then so now, instead of me not like going to work at all, I'm only now 15 minutes behind. I get up early enough to do some extra. Now I'm not gonna have time to make me my oatmeal and my coffee. I'm gonna have to jump in the shower, get dressed, and go. But that backup has saved me from missing the day.
Yeah.
So that's the part, we have to understand how we use people to help us, because then we become dependent on someone to do something for us that we really should have a grip on as well.
I need to do that, because right now she's like not even my backup. She's like my main person.
Yeah.
I'm always telling Celeste, like, hey, set the alarm to this, and then it's like, I have a phone, why don't I do it? But she's the one that sets my alarms and gets me up and stuff like that. One thing that works with me is when I do a to-do list. So like, how do I improve, or how do I get better? When I write to-do lists, and even though we have technology, we can put that on our phones. When I write down my to-do list, for whatever reason, it just feels way better for me, and I'm able to get that done.
You can visually see the done.
Yeah,
done.
Build some momentum.
It feels good. So when I do the to-do list, I will get back to the emails first, because I know that's quicker. And for me, it's about like checking the check boxes, right? So it's just when I'm on that routine, I'm better. But when I get off it, when I keep everything in my head, that's when I get a little bit sloppy, for sure.
I don't like to write a to-do list, because then my wife would bring me the list and say, and you wrote it down and you still didn't do it.
Hold you accountable.
So now I don't write it down now. I'm just like,
No evidence, right? No, Frankie's onto something as far as students or adults, just people in general. Get into a system that works for you. Like clearly Sal, I mean, even breakfast, if we're meeting for coffee, like he literally has his stuff down. So that app is clearly working for him. So he's going to ride with that. So I tell my students all the time, get something that works though. I'm using my phone. Well, how's that working for you? Yeah, I missed like 3 meetings. It's not working for you. So get another system, right? Something that works for you.
I really believe, man, things you pay for, now the responsibility is on them, right? So if you're using a free app, well, it may not work as well as the app that I pay for that has never failed me, right? Because it's their business of doing it. I think that's true with anything, right? So
you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
You know?
100.
Yeah. I'll pick on myself a little bit. Anger management for me. And I've learned from you. I've learned from Dre. I've learned from Frankie, like the whole team.
I've never seen you Hulk out.
Man, I'm telling you, like, I would be that person, even my little garage band back in the day, that I'm like, we got to get this song down. They're like, relax, dude. Like, chill out. I'm like, no, we got to get to work. We've been working on it. Now we got to get it done. And so I've always had that, like, I'm telling people, you know, even when I was, like, as far as, like, elementary school, sucking the fun out of events, man. Like they're just like relax. Even when I was doing music and we'd be on the radio and they're like, dude, you hit #1. I'm like, but I don't have another song ready, man. I got to go back and start. Enjoy the moment, bro.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning from you guys every single time. If something happens, you guys literally, especially Sal, Dre, and Frankie. Frankie's just like, oh, it's all good. Dre, all you guys. You shrug your shoulders and you move on. And so I'm not used to doing that. I'm used to carrying that with me, like, and festering in that. And so for me, it's great. It's refreshing to be around men and women that are just like, it's all good. Like, we're going to mess up. Or, you know, this is going to happen. So I would say over the years, that's been one of my main things. I got
here's a little story that might help you with that.
Go for it.
Love this story, man. Came from Davey D from his dad. So same scenario, right? Pissed off about something, hanging on to something, and the story goes something like this, right? Picture father, son sitting down, kid's upset, and you know, dad's like, all right, you know the truck out there, right? Yeah, I know the truck. All right, do me a favor. I need you to do something for me. Okay, what you need me to do? All right, here are the keys. I need you to go down to Home Depot. 2x4s. You know what 2x4s are, right? Yeah, I know what 2x4s are. All right, I need about 60 of those. Give me some beams, plywood. You know the big nails this big? Give me a bucket full of those things, right? Yeah, I got you. All right, take this truck, go down there and get all that stuff for me, right? So when you get back, you can use it to build a bridge and get the hell over it.
Nice. There we go.
It was just a funny visual, man. He can tell it 20 times better than me, 1,000 times better. But the idea is what you get, right? Yeah.
Well, and there's also growth, because I know, like you said, we know people that you know, and I know, and it's like, and people have known you a lot longer than I have. And they used to say, man, that guy, like, the people would tell stories about you back, and I'd be like, really? And I'm always trying to get more information. Tell me more.
What do you do?
Yeah, because I know Professor age, I know Doctor age. They go like, dude, when we were in college, that dude was wild. Wild. They go, he's really, but they're really proud of you. You know, in retrospect, because like, you know, but he was always, he had drive. You know, you've had that for a long time, and people who've known you going back to, I met a guy who knew you in high school. You know, and he said, man, that one thing about that guy, man, he was smart and he had drive, but at one point he knew he was smart and he got a little cocky. You know,
maybe.
And then you know, then he dealt with. They said, you know, he dealt with the short guy syndrome a little bit. You know, so now you know you're small in stature, but you got a little bit of power because like you're smarter and you got open mobility. He said, but what happens is over something in your life happened. Like they don't know because they were with you at the time, and then they said, well, you know, he was always, you know, fairly humble. Sometimes he out of pocket, but so what happens is, and I explained to him, I said, what happened was that humbleness kicked in at some point. And it like, I got this opportunity to be great at something, and I'm standing out, and I'm moving, and I'm leaving a lot of people. So now what am I going to do with it? I said, that's what happens with people. But some people, they start leaving people, and they still keep the cockiness. And at some point, you're not humble, you'll come right back to those people. You'll come right back.
And they may not be there, though.
And or they're like, welcome back. You know, and they're looking at you like, oh, failure. Exactly. At least we're where we were. You got out of here. And you fell right back in here because of whatever your attitude was, the negativity that you took and you held on to. It brought you back to the fold. So, be humble, be positive, and you will. And if you do separate, reach back and help others. That's what we're doing here on this podcast. We're all trying to reach back.
Self-awareness may have brought back that humbleness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I always tell my students, man, if you're not being humble right now, life will gladly do that for you.
It'll help you get there.
For sure. So, make sure. And I don't know who you talk to, but they're accurate, right? I can own that, for sure. But again, it's just, life definitely did that to me. And just telling my students, always make sure, even if you reach the highest level where you're at, continue to help people up, man. And especially give back to the community like we're continuously doing. So, man, self-awareness,
good, man.
It's key, whether it's therapy, whether it's prayer, whether it's talking to some great friends that are family, whatever that is for you, like make sure that you're doing that to just be critical in a good way of yourself, and also critical, hey man, I'm doing pretty well here. I want to pivot towards these lanes.
Doing something right.
Yeah, doing something right. There's a dissertation of things that I'm not good at. There's a couple things that I am, and I want to tap into those, and learning from you guys too. So self-awareness, one of the major keys to success for sure. Another round of applause for another episode of Family, y'all. Self-awareness, practice it, implement it, get into a system like Frankie was saying, and the guys, get into a system that works for you. So family, with that said, a 2-finger spread, try your best to stay positive, and as always, if you can rise to it, you can rise through it. We'll catch you later.
All right. Get out there and turn those knobs.